Hello and welcome back to Cast On, a knitting podcast where I talk about my finished objects, my whips, some yarn acquisitions and some more knitting things. My name is Ellie, I'm from Austria and this is episode number 23. Hello and welcome back. I hope you're doing really well. I am back in Vienna, as you can see, back on my floor without a backrest. I really have to do something about this. Maybe I will go on the sofa very soon, I don't know. But today I have got some things to show you, some exciting things. So yeah, I am wearing my poplar tee, I think it's called, by Brienne Moody. I test knit this for her almost a year ago now. I looked it up, the pattern came out in June and I'm pretty sure I already started the test knit either at the end of April or the beginning of May. So yeah, that is what I'm wearing today. I made this in Drops Baby Merino in the deep purple, and then the other colours, the other two are Drops Flora. It's super warm, but I'm actually considering making another one of these. I don't know if I'll get around to it because there are so many amazing patterns out there that I really want to make before I make something double. The only issue that I have with this pattern, and I had this even, like I also mentioned that in the test, that it is very deep and I don't really like that. As you can see, I split for the sleeves down here, and I think it would have been better if I split one repeat before that, so it's a bit tighter around the arm, because you can actually see on the inside of the shirt and it kind of stretches out underneath the armpit as well. But I think in general I really like this shirt. I don't really get around to wearing it, but today I thought I would whip it out again out of my wardrobe because I need spring colours. I need happy colours, and this is very much that. It's been very strange. The weather has not been fantastic. One day is really hot, the next day it's super cold. It's been snowing, it's been raining, it's very gloomy and cloudy. I'm pretty sure it's like this all over the world right now. I hope we are not the only ones. But it's not particularly nice, and I need colours, I need happiness right now, because I'm not feeling it at the moment. So that is everything, I think. Before we can get started, grab your knitting, grab yourself a drink. Today I have got myself an actual coffee. Sadly I didn't grind enough beans and put too much water in it, so it's very watered down, which isn't fantastic to drink, but we'll make do. And I think we can get started. I have one finished object. I know, who am I? Two finished objects in a row after another the last episode, but I have really been wanting to finish this off. It is my gorgeous sweater number 18 by My Favourite Things Knitwear. Last time I'm not sure if I even had a sleeve yet. I might have just joined in the round, but I just ploughed through it. I got all of the purling out of the way, and this is what it looks like. I am so happy with it. I still need to block it because I only finished it 2 days ago, and I really wanted to show you on the podcast before I block it, because otherwise I wouldn't have been able to show you because it would still be wet. So as soon as I finish this episode, I'm gonna put this in water and block it properly so it all opens up nicely. And I use Drops Karisma number 72, which is like a very light grey, and Filcolana Tilia in the colour silver, which is colour 55 or something. 358, completely wrong. But this is all I have left of the mohair, and literally this is all I've left of the wool. So Drops Karisma is a DK weight and 100% superwash wool. It is one of my favourite wools to work with, and it did not disappoint this time either. The only thing I have to say with this one, the strands were sometimes thick and thin, which I didn't quite understand nor enjoyed, because it makes everything a bit uneven. But in general, this is everything I've left. I used 10 balls, so exactly, or almost exactly 1000 meters, and of this I used 5, so this is the 5th one. Now, let's talk about the pattern first. I think the pattern is very well written. She does include charts and the written instructions. I went off the written instructions because I just could not figure out the charted version. I don't know why. I normally prefer working from charts because I'm a very visual person, but this time I had a really hard time, also because I think the symbols were different. So a purl stitch would not be a dot as I'm used to, it would be like a dash. Is that a dash? I don't know, like a minus symbol. So I was very confused, so I just went off with the written instructions, which were fine, and I think it turned out really nicely. I love the back detail. I mean, everyone's raving about this, so it's nothing new. This is the back slant. So you start off with casting on up here around the neckline, and then you increase until you have like a, what's that shape? In German it's called trapeze, so it's like a trapezoid. Is that the right word? I don't know. You know what I mean if you've made drop shoulders before. And then you pick up along the slanted edge for the left and the right front, and then you increase, and then you join the front and back, and then you join it around, and then you work the body. I still have my coffee stain on this sweater because, like I said, I have not had the chance to wash it. If you don't know, last time when I held this up, I realized I got a massive coffee stain at the very front of the sweater because I was a bit clumsy. It's still here, it's right here. It's actually worse on the inside, so I really hope it will be fine once I block it completely. But I mean, I'm not too bothered, to be honest, because it's just a tiny spill right here, but on the inside it looks a bit worse, so everything will be fine. The yarn combination was very nice to work with. I have to say, the mohair started to dig into my finger after a while. I don't know why, but I can't work with drops mohair anymore. This is just so soft. Lastly, a few weeks ago I pulled out my Cargill sweater, which I've still not finished. You can go and watch some other episodes if you want to know more about that. But I'm working with drops mohair on that one, and I just can't anymore. It's too rough, and it almost feels like plastic to me. So this one definitely is my favorite one so far. I've not tried that many, but I would go for this anytime. Also because this does not itch. The other one does itch. So I'm actually contemplating if I should actually finish the cargo, which is a shame because I only got like one sleeve left. But that's a whole nother story. We are talking about this gorgeous sweater. I have a confession to make, and I know I have gotten quite a lot of comments about this before, and I don't know why. I was just in my brain, it just didn't click. Alright, I ended up with a size S. I started knitting a size XS. The reason is, so I measured the sweater and I actually ended up with a size S, and the problem is that my gauge is off. I know that, I am aware of that. I am a very loose knitter, and I don't know why it took me so long to realise this, mostly because I never checked my gauge afterwards. I just finished the piece, and I know everything will be oversized on me anyways because I am very petite. I don't have a big bust. I wish I had, but I don't. So I have nothing to fill out like the circumference of the sweater. So no, whatever I make, it's always too big and it never fits right. So with this one, I thought, oh, what the hell, I'll just measure it just to check, because I was so worried I was going to run out of yarn. I had the exact amount of yarn I needed for the size XS, but then I was like, this might not last. I only had like 2 balls left for the sleeves, and I know I need exactly 2 balls for one sleeve. So I was very worried. I almost ordered some more. I'm glad I didn't, because otherwise I would be stuck with more yarn. So I realized I am a very loose knitter. And I know you say, well, then just make gauge swatches, do this, do that. I know, I am aware of that. But the problem is, whatever I do, I can make swatches flat, I can make them in the round. The swatch is right. The swatch gives me the gauge I'm supposed to have, but the finished piece doesn't. And I cannot size down more when I'm already making the smallest size. So people then say, oh, well, just make one smaller. I can't. I'm sorry, I'm already making the smallest one. So this is a very big problem for me. I'm not bothered, to be honest. I know this is going to be an oversized sweater. I love wearing oversized things. I don't like things to cling to my body anyways. So this is completely fine. I'm not complaining about any of this. I'm actually happy about the added positive ease that I gained with this. I'm just mentioning it to you guys so you are aware of that as well, and I don't get any more like comments about my gauge. I know, but I can't help it. The other thing about this sweater, now that we've gotten that out of the way, is I shortened the ribbing sections, because this is actually only half the ribbing what I'm supposed to, like lengthwise, what I'm supposed to make, also for the body. But when I tried it on, it just fit. I know it's gonna grow anyways with blocking, so I thought this is just gonna, I'm just gonna bind off now. I think you're supposed to have like 8 centimeters or 7 centimeters of ribbing. This might be, I don't know, 5. It is shorter, and I'm okay with that. Also because I was so worried about the yarn, I bound off with a very stretchy bind off. I can't remember the name of this one. This is some kind of, is it Judith stretchy bind off? It's essentially where you make a yarn over and then put the stitches over one another. It gives you these like pearl bumps here. I don't mind it. I think it looks quite nice and neat. I had some problems with, I recently found the, what's that bind off called? It's not the Italian bind off, it's the other one that's really popular. It's a sewn bind off essentially, and I really enjoyed making those, but you do need quite a lot of yarn with it, and I found out that they're not actually as stretchy and look as neat, because in my opinion, or when I do it, it stretches out the ribbing so much that it actually looks weird. So I went back to this one for yarn purposes sake, and I'm very happy with it. Another thing is that I did a fold over collar, and this time I actually put 1 purl row in to help it fold. I've never done this before, to be honest. I don't love the look of it. I know there is another method where you use yarn overs, which I might try next, and if that also doesn't work out how I would want it to work out, then I will just continue with a stockinette, or well, ribbing, and then just fold it over like that without any help for the fold. So this is what it looks like. You can see the pearl row here, and then I just sewed it down. Well, like you normally do with a fold over collar, you just knit both of the stitches, one on the left hand needle and then one from the cast on edge together, and that's all the magic. It fits really well, and for the inside I actually did not use any mohair. I just used drops Karisma, because mohair is still very sensitive around my neck. it doesn't itch anywhere else on my body with this one, which I'm very glad, because with drops mohair, that was a big problem and still is. I cannot wear the sweaters that are made with it anymore. So with this one I actually held back with the mohair around its neck, because even this is, it's not great. So I hope that this will also help with wear, and I'm really excited to start and block this out. So maybe I'm going to show you next time, I don't know. I hope the weather is getting better, and I'm not sure if I will actually be able to wear this sweater at all, which is totally fine by me, because the reason why I started making this kind of so late in winter is because I just really wanted to make a jumper, and I wasn't bothered if I could finish it before summer really started. So that is my one and only finished object. Very happy with it, and we can move on with my whips. Have a sip of coffee. Great. I have to say I have not made any progress on my Magnolia cardigan, chunky cardigan. I have it just here with me. After last time I just couldn't find the motivation to do it. I really lost steam on it, which is a shame. I know I still got a month left. It is, for those of you who don't know, it is a present for my mum. Her birthday is at the beginning of June, and I started it in like March just to be on the safe side, because last year I started way too late and couldn't finish it and had to kind of rush the process, which ended up with the garment not fitting right and being way too short and all of that. Again, you can watch my earlier podcasts if you want to know more about this. So I have not worked on this at all. Like I said, I really lost steam with it. I don't feel like knitting lace anymore. Pardon me. I know the sleeve is going to be very quick, because the other one I knit this in one afternoon. You work on 6mm needles, and I know it's going to be fast, but I just cannot bring myself to do it. I don't know why. So I left it on the side for now. The same is with my blanket that you've not seen for ages. It's this blanket here. What is it called? I can't even remember the name. I'm very sorry. I'm a bit... I kind of lost motivation, lost my mojo in general. I'm not feeling particularly great at the moment, so I don't feel like knitting either. Which is why I just leave the projects to, well, be in a corner. So I've not worked on this blanket either. I might pick it up again, because I still would like to have it. But yeah, I don't know, we'll see. So that lives in my basket, and then I have one whip that I can actually show you and I've made some progress with it. It is my Moonset tee by Ozetta. I am very pleased with this. So last time I think I only had the back. I only had the back panel, and ever since then I have got, now I've got two fronts, and I just joined them last night. Ta-da! The collar looks so good. I assume afterwards you sew this down onto the back so it's not open. But yeah, this is what it looks like. I am using Fingering Merino by Olivia and Oliver Fibers. I really don't know if I can pull these skeins out, because I squished them in my handy dandy project bag and they're kind of falling apart. So this is what they look like. This is the colour Feather. Also, I have all of these things on my Ravelry page. I updated it a few days ago to be completely on track. Anyway, this is what it looks like. I have got the front and the back. It is a fingering weight pattern. The stitch count is 26 stitches per 4 inches. Again, gauge problems. Last time I said I was working on 3.5mm needles. I don't know why. I don't know why I did that, because the recommended needle size is 3.25 for the garment. I don't own a needle this small. I think it's a very strange thickness as well. I couldn't find a proper needle in this size, so I was like, instead of just buying a whole needle, I'm just gonna go up. I don't know why. It was fine for the back, so the back I used 3.5mm needles, and I pulled this yarn really tightly. Not ideal, not pleasant to work with, wouldn't recommend. So for the front, I said to myself, why am I doing this to myself? I could just size down, because I realized I'm a loose knitter. So then if I'm knitting properly, it should be fine and it should even out. So the front panels I knit in 3mm needles, and that works a lot better. I don't have to pull the yarn so tightly anymore. I'm still not on gauge, which is strange. I'm still too loose, so I think I have to just pull a bit tighter. I'm not bothered if this is going to be too big. The only thing is that I only have 2 skeins of yarn, so that's only 800 meters, and for the size XS, which I am making, again smaller size because got nothing here, you do need 813 meters. So I know that I'm already a little bit short on it, which is fine, because I can just make the sleeves shorter or the body. I don't mind these things. But if I end up with a size S once again because of the gauge, then I might really not have enough yarn, and it might be at an awkward length. I don't know, I have to see when I come to this. But now I have finished the front. I joined the front, like I said, and I only have a few rows left at the front, and then I can finally join the whole thing, because this was not fun going back and forth with all of this purling. This was not fun for me. Especially because my wrists don't enjoy purling, because I have a cardigan on my needles, I have my sweater number 18 which has a lot of purling, and then I have this which is also just purling for the first like 50% of the garment. But I'm very glad I finally did it, and like I said, just a few rows left. With this project I have encountered a few troubles, and that is to no fault to the pattern whatsoever, completely my fault. I did not read properly, and this was an issue because I had to redo the whole left side. I finished the left side down here, I finished it all, until I realized that the collar was way too wide. So the collar, you have like 16 stitches or something, and I had 16 on this side as well, on the stockinette part. So I actually had, what's that, 32 stitches wide of a collar, which first of all looked absolutely ridiculous because it kind of just came out of the shoulder, because obviously the back has got the same width as the front. So I had to redo the whole bit. It was actually fine in the end, because when I was coming back to Vienna on the train, that's like a 2.5 hour journey, I just knit on this. So it's actually fine, and I think it's very fun because I do alternate skeins, which does help a lot with going like purling, because you then pick up the other yarn and then you see, oh, it's got some different speckles and stuff. So I think that helps a lot, at least for me. So you can see you have speckles, you have a bit of like coloured stripes, and last time I said I found it very odd how in the back all of the speckles, even though I am alternating skeins, are kind of pulled around here. I think that has changed now at the front. I don't think it's as bad anymore. If you can see, I think it's a lot better. So I'm a lot happier now. Yeah, I don't know when I'm gonna finish this. This is going to be, I think, one of those kind of long-term ish project because I am working with 3mm needles on a fingering weight project, so I have absolutely no stress with this at all, and I'm not on a deadline with it, unlike with my cardigan. The pattern, I think, is very well written. I would recommend this to anyone. I think it's a very, very cool idea as well, with the collar and then you have it kind of overlapping. I think it's a very unique design. I know she's got a whole range of Moonset things. I think she's also got a Moonset pullover, and that's a different gauge. That's DK weight, I think. But so far I'm really enjoying it. I think the body is gonna drag a lot because you work the whole circumference, and I know when I made a fingering weight sweater last time it took forever, so I don't have high hopes for this being done in like a month or so. But again, no stress with this at all. It is 100% merino wool, so it's not the most summer appropriate thing anyways, which is again fine by me. It's more like a transitional piece or like an overthrow kind of thing if I wear a dress or something, because it's like this shirt is way too warm. So yeah, that is one whip, and then the other is something completely new which you've not seen before, but you have seen the yarn, which is a bit of a tangled mess down here, but that's okay, you don't have to see that. This is the Sommerknus by Elsebeth, Judith. I mentioned it last time, and this is what it looks like so far. I know the cable is it's a bit too short. Here we go. So you have these really, really cool textured stripes. This here is an eyelet bit, then you have a ribbing section, some pearl rows, another 1x1 rib, and up here you have the short rows, which are quite substantial. And this has been an absolute lifesaver, even though I do have quite a lot of purling to do, because you have like 2 pearl rows one after another, and then you have ribbing. It is a very, very fun knit. Again, I'm making the size XS, the smallest size possible, and with this I realized soon enough that the needles that I used, which were the recommended needles, which are 5mm needles, are too big. My gauge was too big, and I actually measured it up here, and I'm off by 1 stitch. Most of the times I'm off by either 1 or 2 stitches, which does not sound like a lot, but it really does make a difference with the garment afterwards. So I decided, after I finished the stockinette bit, I would change to 4.5mm needles, because I thought it's just 1 stitch, half a needle size should sort it out. So I did. I've not got to a stockinette part yet again, so I again don't know my gauge. But by the looks of it, I think it's going to be fine. It does have positive ease once again, but I am very, very happy with it. Also, I'm trying to make all of the things a bit bigger now because I am trying to gain some weight. So if I make something the actual size that I am right now, not that I could even make it smaller than what the pattern tells you to do, I would not be able to wear most of the things, hopefully very soon, I don't know, or like in the future. So the yarn is Vikinggarn Bambino. I showed this last time. It was an acquisition. Now the sun is out, so you cannot see the color. This is a bit more accurate. It is a very, very bright orange. This is a Norwegian yarn, and it is it's 50% wool and 50% 50% cotton and 50% bamboo. This is the color 452. Again, a very, very bright orange. It's even brighter than the brick color. So I have drops saffron. If you have this in stash, it's even brighter than that. This is quite washed out, so it's very bright, not my typical color. but it is super soft. I wanted to go for something edgy, kind of out of my comfort zone, just to try and find some different colours that I like. This is so soft. It is a fingering weight yarn, so I'm holding it double for the shirt, because the shirt, the gauge is like 18 stitches, so it's a very loose gauge for the yarn you're supposed to use. So I'm very pleased with this. This is, like I said, so soft, and that is kind of a problem, because it is so soft that it slides over my fingers and I cannot tension the yarn properly, which is an interesting problem to have. That the yarn is too soft and you can't hold it properly. But I've tried to wrap it around the finger instead of once, twice, and that has seemed to help. I don't know how I'm gonna proceed with this. Yeah, it is a very soft yarn. I think it's the bamboo content that makes it this silky smooth. And again, I'm working with wooden needles, because I know wooden needles are supposed to make the yarn stick a bit better when you work with something like silk, something very like a round yarn. I've not found if this has made any difference. I have not found out that yet. I don't know. Like I said, I'm just trying to tension it properly with wrapping around my finger twice. But then I'm worried I'm pulling a bit too tightly on one bit and then it's too loose on the other. I don't know. But I am almost finished with the yoke. It looks quite tiny, but don't be confused, because the neckline is super wide. Again, I normally don't go for things like this, like a super wide neckline. I don't think it looks good on me, because I have very wide shoulders. So this is kind of where I would end up. I only have, I think, 1 or 2 sections left before I can split for sleeves, and I'm looking forward to this, because this has been, I don't know, 2 days, 3 days of work maybe, so it's very quick. I mean, it doesn't surprise me with an 18 stitch gauge. I'm working on 4.5 millimeter needles. So yeah, this is my last whip for today. Don't know how this is going to go, but I really enjoy the colour. Again, I don't know if it's going to look good on me, if I'm going to hate it, if it's going to be difficult to pair it, because that's another thing, that things might be difficult to pair with such bright colours, but I guess we'll just have to see and find out. Right, get some coffee. So, yarn acquisitions. I do have one acquisition. It's in here, sorry. I already put it away. I have one acquisition, and that was when I was in my hometown. There is this really cool yarn shop. I've ordered from them before to get it sent out, because I could never find the time to get there before they actually close, because of the train and stuff. Anyway, so I went there, and beautiful shop. They have loads of different things. I have bought some hand-dyed yarn from them before. Life in the Long Grass, that's also, I think, either almost a year ago or it is a year ago. So if you know what I'm talking about, then that is where I got it from. And then I saw this. So this is sock yarn. This is Ferner Wolle, which is an Austrian yarn producer. It is the colour 520/22. Don't know what that means. I assume it's from 2022. I have no idea. They have these weird like colour names. This is 420 meters, 56% wool, superwash wool, 25% cotton, sorry, and 19% polyamide recycled, which I thought was very cool. So it is, again, really soft. I thought that was very interesting that there is cotton in it with wool as a sock yarn, because this is sock yarn. And yeah, anything else? I'm very much looking forward to knitting this up. I think the colour just really spoke to me. It's exactly what I like. Deep purple, some pinks, some really nice oranges. It looks like a sunset to me, and I just had to get it. I'm in this weird phase where I just want to knit socks. I don't know why, especially because we're getting into summer. It is getting hot. You cannot really wear wool socks anymore because you're way too sweaty and hot. But I just wanted to get this. I might start, I don't know, I've been really intrigued with sock tubes. I recently found another podcaster, can't remember her name, but she made a sock tube and she enjoyed the process, but she said it didn't fit right, and that's a problem that I'm not confident when I hear stuff like this. I know Inga from the Knitting Traditions podcast, she loves sock tubes at the moment, and I think they're such a cool concept that I really want to have this as like my travel project. But if they don't fit right, I don't want to waste such beautiful yarn. So what I might do is I might get some of my sock yarn scraps and start making a tube and see how they fit before I dive into this. Another thing that I could do with this are the DRK Everyday Socks by Andrea Mowry, Drea Renee Knits, and I have the pattern. I have had it for a while now. Words. And people said that this sock fits so well. So I've never made a toe-up sock, so I might make it with this. Sorry, I just realised I got my socks on the wrong way. Got distracted. Very happy with this purchase. And then another thing, and this is actually gifted. I did not buy this, but it was gifted from my mum. So again, sock yarn. This is Schachenmayr Regia. Mountains and Fjords is the colorway. It is a very nice blue toned yarn. This is color 07032. Again, I think it's just called Mountains and Fjords. It is 4-ply, and you have 420 meters per 100 grams, which is quite standard. 75% wool and 25% polyamide. What else? Oh, you can put it in the washing machine, but I never do that anyways. So the reason why I have this is because my mum actually surprised me last Christmas, so not this Christmas but the Christmas the year before, in 2021, when I just started out knitting. She actually surprised me with knitting me a pair of socks. She asked my grandma to help her, which was just so lovely. I still have them, I do wear them. She is not a knitter, I have to say, so that was even more special to me because she actually took out the time and went to my grandma to figure out what to do about, you know, the heel and to turn the heel and stuff like this. So this is very special, and she's still got a whole skein, this skein left. So I told her I would like to make her a pair of socks as well, to kind of first of all use up the yarn, because I've been wanting to try this yarn for a while, and also to give her something back and not let this kind of go to waste, so we can have matching socks. So that is the plan with this. Again, I don't know when I'm going to start this. I think for these, instead of having like a experimental thing going on, I'm just gonna use the vanilla socks by the Crazy Sock Lady, very standard. I've only made those so far, but I think they fit great. Also because I don't have my mum like kind of by me to check for the socks, so I can look up how long it is. She's got a size 39, a shoe size 39 European, and I have no idea what size that is. I think it's like a 5 or a 5.5. I don't know these things. 39, I'm a 38, so it's a bit bigger. But I think this might be a really fun travel project, and the aim with this is what I'm trying to say, is that I want to make her a sock where I don't need her to try it on constantly. So maybe I find me a fun pattern. Instead of just making a stockinette, I could make it a ribbed sock to make it fit better, because she does have uneven sized feet. One foot is a bit smaller than the other, not noticeably, but in the shoe she says if she could get like one shoe smaller and the other one bigger, that would be perfect. Obviously you can't do that, but that is why I have this yarn. So those were my yarn acquisitions. No more other yarns, because I have bought a lot of yarn recently, and I've been storing these in these plastic boxes that I got from IKEA, and I recently reshuffled my yarn once again because I took out the yarn for this sweater, so I can tick that off my list of my yarn stash that I have actually used it all, instead of just acquiring, because even though I said this year that I wanted to use quite a lot of my stash, I have not gotten to that point yet, so we'll see about that. And yeah, the reason why I have not bought another one of these boxes is because I don't really want to encourage myself to buy more yarn, because I know I will have kind of an empty box lying around. So I'm trying to reduce my yarn acquisitions, but it is going to be a bit of a problem because I do plan on going away on holidays this year, so I will obviously buy more yarn then, and I can't knit as fast as I'm acquiring yarn, and I do know that, but I'm very happy with the yarn that I have, and to be honest, most of it has got a project in mind anyway. So yeah, enough about this. This was all of the knitting content that I have for you today. I have one more thing to show you, so if you're not interested in sewing bits, then I hope you join me next time again. And last time I showed you some fabric that I bought, and I sewed up one dress. This is the Senna dress pattern by Schultz Apparel. This was such a fun thing to sew up. It's a very easy pattern. It's kind of, it almost looks like a maternity dress, and you don't need a zipper, which is the best bit. The back has got this open slit, and then you tie it with these strings together. This is very difficult. You tie it with these strings together, and then the front is a high neck, which I prefer, because when I bend down I don't want everyone to see my cleavage. So this is the front. Again, I did make this kind of way too big, because for the reasons I said before, I wanted to try and gain some weight. And the skirt has got these pleats, which are absolutely gorgeous. I don't think I've ever made a pleated skirt before, but pleats are very easy to sew. And the skirt is super long. It's about a calf length, like a tea dress, if you know what that means. So it's longer than the knee, essentially. But you can of course shorten it to whatever length you would like it. But I think for now I'm going to leave it. And then it's got some interfacing here around the sleeves, and then the armhole, and of course the neck right here. So this was a very quick sew and project to make. So if you're interested in sewing, I would highly recommend this pattern. Very easy, very straightforward, not a lot of pieces to cut out or to sew together, and I can't wait to wear this out when it finally gets warm enough to wear it out. Yeah, I think that was everything for today. Now for real, I don't think I have anything else to say. One more thing, sorry, before we end. I am thinking about putting together like a Zoom call, so if you're interested in that, let me know either down below this video, or you can send me a message on Instagram, whatever you prefer. The idea is to have like a Zoom knit night going on, maybe sometime during the coming up weekends. I don't know how many people actually have time, because I do know some holiday days are coming up, so people might be going away, but it would be fun to be around like-minded people. It would be fun to have some of you guys chat with me, and not always me chatting to a camera and then you watching that video. So do let me know if you would like that as well, and then I'm sure we can organize something that would fit everyone. And yeah, I hope your projects are going well. I hope you have better weather than me, and I'm gonna see you next time. Happy knitting. Bye.